Good morning. Welcome to another episode of HardFoul. Hope you guys are enjoying yourself, however you are listening, whether it is on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, soon to be Spotify. That's coming soon. Uh, just however you're listening. Hope you guys are enjoying your day. It's a beautiful Wednesday. It's hump day. Just came off the 4th of July. Hope you guys all had a great time with family. You know, you got to eat your hot dogs, your burgers, your barbecue. Got to have a few beers. Hope everyone enjoyed themselves. Really do. So let's get right into it. I am sorry. I don't know if anyone heard me. I am sorry. I do my podcasts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I study for each of these podcasts numerous amounts of hours. I am sorry that Monday's show was not up to standard. I have a big expectation of myself. Let me give some context here really quick. I got the nickname as a kid, Rain Man, because during middle school and even freshman year of high school, I just kind of always knew sports, right? I was just like, someone would talk about a play. Most people can name, a couple, obviously everyone can name the stars on a certain team. Most people can name big time teams. Like I grew up in California or San Diego more specifically. So everyone can name the Chargers, all their star players, the Raiders, their star players, yada, yada. I could probably name every single player on every single team during middle school and high school. Now my schedule's gotten a little more complicated, so I can't do that anymore. But give me 3 days, 2 days, I probably could again. Right? I've just always been fascinated with sports. So, because of that, most people are just kind of he gets sports. He understands it. It comes easy for him, right? You always see people that it's math comes easy to them, science comes easy to them, history comes easy to them. This doesn't come easy to me. This is just something that I have been so infatuated with at such a young age that I spent, probably shouldn't say this, but I mean, she already knows. If I were to do homework, right? Get your homework assignment, come home from school. I'd probably spend maybe 5-10 minutes on my homework at the maximum amount of time. I would probably spend 3 to 4 hours a day on NFL.com, NBA.com, MLB.com, just searching the internet for all these different stories, seeing what's going on, especially with the Broncos. I don't hide that being my favorite team. I just spent so much time on it that it almost became a natural thing. And where people got the perception of, oh, he just gets sports. They make sense to him. That's his thing. That's his passion. So I wasn't alive for it. But if you know the Michael Jordan commercial where he apologizes, he says, I'm sorry if you thought my highlights started at the free throw line, not in the gym. If you thought my passion was in my dunk, not in my workout. I'm paraphrasing here. Don't quote me verbatim. That's how I am with sports. I spend so much time looking up different players, looking up different teams. I'm probably one of the few people you've ever seen that at 13 years old was watching NBA classic games, like the classic 60s Celtics versus Lakers games. If you want to call those classics, they were blowouts for the most part. They weren't really good games. But that's what I did. That's what I enjoyed doing. I loved watching Bill Russell, seeing what all the hype about him was. I loved watching when they would show Magic and Bird. Obviously got a lot of play time because of how historic they are. I loved watching those games. I loved watching the NFL classic games. I don't have cable anymore, so I don't know if they still show them on NBA TV and NFL Network, but I loved that kind of stuff. I can specifically remember watching the Browns' only playoff game the last 15 years against the Steelers. Yeah, think about that. And I watched that game 2 or 3 times. Monday's show was not good because what I've done my entire life, which is put so much time into sports, put so much time into this passion that I have, I didn't do it. I'll be honest. I did not do it. I spent maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And that was wrong. There is certain aspects of this that are improv, and I'm not going to deny that I've used improv before, but my improv is off of recollection. I can improv a story or an analogy or a reference because I've spent so much time studying it beforehand, reading it beforehand, watching it beforehand. So that's why the improv, there's some things I've improv that you guys would probably never know that I've improved that turned out incredible, really. But you would never know the improv because I was always studying. So I have to apologize about Monday's show. It was not up to my standard. It was not up to, I don't care how many views, how many listens I actually got. It was not up to my standard. Therefore, I should not have done it, nor should I have posted it. I apologize. I listened to, and I'm going to move on to the actual segments for today. I listen to Eric Thomas a lot. Okay. If you know who Eric Thomas is, motivational speaker. I don't give a lot of motivational speakers credit and or time for that matter. I'm a pretty highly motivated person without one. But I give him time. I give him attention. And one of the things that he talks about is give 120% or don't do it. I felt so bad, and I'll post it so you guys will see. I'm not even lying here. Not that he'll ever see it, but I DM'd him on Instagram, and I was like, hey, huge fan, been following you, been listening to you for years. I finally got this podcast started up, doing things. I got on iTunes, got my YouTube account active, and I had a bad show. And I didn't have a bad show because there just wasn't anything to talk about. I had a bad show because I didn't give 120%. And that's not fair. It's not fair to you guys whatsoever. So to anyone who's ever given me a view on YouTube, to anyone who's ever given me a listen on SoundCloud, to anyone who's ever given me a listen on iTunes, I apologize. Monday's show was not good enough, and I will never do that to you guys again. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go into all this money that's being thrown around in the NBA. And this has been happening the last 2 or 3 off seasons now. There's money everywhere. I mean, we got guys who are, I'm drawing a blank on the name. I keep forgetting it. But the Heat player 2 years ago who played like 30 games and got the 4-year, $40 million deal, or 4 years, $44 million. You know, there's guys who are coming off the bench for teams or just average players who are making, I get the era difference, but are making substantially more than guys who even played in the 2000s ever made in their career and or season. Like, some guys are making more in a season than guys in the 2000s made in their career. And I'm not talking about scrubs. I'm talking about like legitimately good players in the early 2000s who did not make near this kind of money. I'm never one to count someone else's money. I just don't believe in it. I don't do it. I don't think it's right. But for the sake of this, we're going to do it. Let's count people's money. So we have Steph Curry at the top, got the 5 years, 201. Most of the max players, they're not really the topic of this conversation because most of them you expect, yes, they are the elite players. If LeBron wanted to actually max out a 5-year deal with Cleveland, he'd get $200-some million. Steph got his 200. Davis got his mega deal. The Mike Conley one, we can all kind of scratch our head at, but for the most part, the max players are going to get max money. That's fine. Kyle Lowry got 3 years, $100 million. George Hill, 3 years, $57 million. Drew Holiday, 5 years, $125 million. I will get into that. Obviously, I've talked about the Pelicans a lot on this channel and this podcast. I will get into how I feel about Drew Holiday. I know it seems like I've been trying to replace him all off season, but I will give you a confirmed opinion and feelings on Drew Holiday segment on Friday. Jeff Teague got 3 years, $57 million. Patty Mills got 4 years, $50 million. I want to say Patty Mills, personal note, congratulations. For a dude who, I don't remember if he was late 50s drafted or just undrafted out of St. Mary's. But oh my gosh, going from no play time to cut to picking up with the Spurs on a 10-day and then getting a 1-year deal and now 4 years. Like, that is dedication. Side note for Patty Mills. JJ Redick got a 1-year, $23 million deal with the process. Gordon Hayward's getting 4 for $128. Otto Porter, 4 years, $104 million. Joe Ingles, 4 years, $52 million. Let's see. Durant took his pay cut to stay with the Warriors, 2 years, $53. Blake, 5 years, $173 with the Clippers. Paul Millsap, 3 years, $90 million with the Nuggets. Serge Ibaka, 3 years, $65 million. Danilo Gallinari, 3 years, $65. And I'm throwing out a bunch of numbers here, but I need to get all these numbers out to just show the purpose. And then you got Nene, who's 3 years, $11 million. And the reason for that being, if you don't know, there is such a thing as an age clause in the NBA. And once you hit a certain age, teams are not allowed to just keep throwing money at you like that. Unless the exception is, because I know everyone is going to go straight to, well, Kobe made $40 million his last 2 years. Yes, but Kobe also hits incentives that allow you to up his contract. So even though he was 35, 36, he was still an all-star. He was still an all-NBA player. He was still averaging X amount of points to justify the contract. So Kobe's the exception. But Kobe's the exception with a lot of things in life. We just have to deal with that. So let me explain something, because everyone's been complaining about, wow, guys are getting so much money. It's ridiculous. It's not fair. How do you justify this? Well, I'll tell you how you justify this. You have to know the finances of how these contracts actually work. If I told you, I'll even give you an exact example here, right? Give me a second. And I already had this guy in my. So JJ Redick, 1 year, $23 million. Okay. Do you know how much his owner's probably going to actually have to pay of that $23 million? Give yourself a second here. This is a true thought exercise. Like, if you are good at math, or if you are good at business, or you think you know what you're doing, take a guess. How much do you think the owners are actually going to pay JJ Redick this year? Take a second. If you answered $23 million, you are wrong. If you answered $10 million, you are wrong. If you answered 0 to $1 million, you are correct. Let me break something down here for you. When these owners give out these contracts, or approve the GM to give out these contracts, you know what the first thing they normally do is? Well, they're billionaires. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'll keep myself at 99%. I'll say there's 1% of billionaires that don't have an account overseas, right? Because when you get to that level of income, that level of money, you generally have a black card, which is for an account overseas, so that you can have money over there, and it's so all your money's not in one place. They go and throw $200 million in one of those hard interest accounts. You know what 10% of 200 is in a hard interest over a year? About $10 million, or about $20 million. You know how much JJ Redick's contract is? $23 million. Everybody gets so crazy about all of these. Oh my gosh, how do you pay these guys so much? The guys that own the teams are multi-billionaires. Take Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert is worth $5.9 billion. And this isn't a hate on the rich guy conversation. This is just, I'm simply throwing out facts. $5.9 billion. He could throw $2 billion into one of these hard savings accounts and generate his payroll for the year for his team. I don't know his other business investments and how much that costs. That's why they sign these deals. The owners are not losing. Even the owners have to pay the luxury tax, which is like, oh no, I don't want to pay the luxury tax. It's too much. These owners are getting well worth their money from the players. And I'm going to segue into that with LeBron's tweet about Steph Curry should getting the $400 million instead of 200. Yeah, getting the $400 million instead of the 200, the 20 annually. He's like, why is there a cap on how much a player can earn? Please tell me. Don't answer that. Steph should be getting $400 million. I kind of battled with myself over this because I thought at first, I'm like, well, LeBron, no offense, but in what other profession in life are you allowed to just outright tell your boss, wow, that's really stupid that you're holding us back in how much we can earn? In almost any profession in life, you get told, and it'll even show you, if you look up your job description for your company, go do it, it'll say your job is worth $20 to $25 an hour, right? Or if your salary, it'll tell you you're worth 60 to 80K annually. You cap out because there is only so much ROI on a job, right? Like a custodian is, I've met some extremely hardworking custodians. I mean, super hardworking custodians, great guys, family guys, have handled their business and handled their job for X amount of years. As a business, though, there's only so much money you can throw at a custodian. There's only so much money cleaning tables and taking out trash generates, which is actually zero. So they're getting paid for a non-fund generating job. ROI, return on investment. What is your return? The more I thought about this, though, the ROI on players are incredible. So incredible. I realized I had the distaste for the tweet initially, and then I thought back to it, and I was just like, I was the one saying the same thing with Kobe. When everyone's talking about, oh, Kobe Bryant, how is he making $20 million a year? He's overpaid. He can't play anymore for those last 2 years. Kobe was bringing in like $90 million a year for the Lakers in merchandising, in tickets. They have a percentage for, I don't know the exact formula that they use, but they have a percentage for how much, or a formula for how much percentage one guy equates to a ticket sale. And they generally equate it by like star value. Obviously, like LeBron and Kobe and Shaq have always been higher percentage of the ticket sale because they're the stars in the game. People want to go see them. And there's other factors they use in this formula. But if you look at merchandise, you look at jersey sales, you look at ticket sales, you look at marketing they can do off the players, these guys generate 3-4 times their contract. Once again, the owners aren't getting screwed in this deal. The owners take the risk, so I believe they should be able to earn this money because they take the risk if, well, what if my guy gets hurt? Then he's doing literally nothing and the money's guaranteed. What if my guy goes AWOL? What if my guy's just not that smart and makes a bad decision? I talked about Madison Bumgarner earlier in the year getting on the motorcycle. His owner was not probably happy about that. But these guys have huge ROIs. Whether you agree with it or not, we live in a capitalistic society in America. The reason jobs have caps is because their ROI simply won't allow them to go over that cap. And when it does, you've either got to move it up, push it back. If your job was 60 to 80 and you found, say if you're a 60 to 80K, you're a construction manager, let me just an example, but you find a way to improve not only efficiency, but cost value, you just moved it up. You might make that job now worth 90K because of what you did. And if they're not willing to push you, you just go start your own business. It's beautiful. There's always money to be made. So these guys 100% should be able to earn more because their ROI in a capitalistic society is through the roof. Dan Gilbert, even if he pays, I'll take him out. The Warriors owners, even if they pay Steph Curry $40 million every year, they're making $100 to $120 million off this guy. Once again, I'm not hating on the owners. I think the owners should be able to earn this much money. They are the employer. Without these 30 guys, people talk about the players holding the league for hostage. These 30 guys can literally hold the NBA for hostage. They have that power. That's what they get to do. They own the teams. If they don't want anyone playing, no one will play. Now, you always counteract that, obviously, by saying, well, if no one plays, then obviously they don't get paid for that investment. But almost none of these guys are solely NBA outside of the Clippers owner because he quit Apple, Steve Ballmer. He quit Apple, or Microsoft, I apologize. So he's only got the Clippers right now. And even that's probably not true because if he's smart, which he is to get to where he was in Microsoft, he's got investments lined up and he's got money in other places generating value for him. The owner's interest, the players getting more, and the owner's not getting screwed are all different factors. We got to realize this is where all this money is coming from. This is what all this money means. And that's where there's so much of it circling around. It was great. I actually told my grandma, I'm like, I'm 6'8". If I was just okay and stuck it out with basketball, I'd probably have a $20 million deal. And you guys wouldn't be seeing me doing this podcast right now or doing this video. I'd be, it's the off season. I'd be somewhere not here. Last thing I'm going to touch up on, and it's to correct my mistake I did for Monday, or to revise what I said about Monday. It's Phil Jackson, and I realized I was missing the most important reason ever about Phil Jackson going back to LA. Phil Jackson has 3 really good reasons to go back to LA. He has Lonzo and Ingram there now as potential stars. He has the possibility of LeBron in a year. And the most important reason ever, Jeannie Buss is in LA. I know everyone just kind of stopped for a second and thought, well, why Jeannie Buss? They broke off their engagement last year. Why would he want to go back there? Well, why did they break off their engagement? Time on the job, the distance, having to go New York to LA, both of them working crazy hours. Jeannie Buss she wasn't stationed in just LA because she didn't have full ownership or control like she does now, so she was all over the place. Well, Jeannie, we don't have to worry about that anymore. I can be the coach. I really don't even want to coach road games, so we could both stay in LA while the team's on the road. We're both going to spend time on the job. We're both going to be in the facility. Fix the Lakers. Fix our relationship. I don't know Jeannie Buss's age, but I know most women like to be married. Pretty sure Phil wants to be married. They were engaged for 4 years. Like, there was a connection there. Think about it. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, LeBron, and you get a wife? If I'm Phil, I'm already there. And he's got the house. Like, I'm already in my house waiting. I got the ring bought. I got my new suit, ironed, fresh pressed, whatever you need. I'm there. Count me in for game 1. And like I've always said, you guys, hit me up. Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. Obviously, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Subscribe on SoundCloud. Subscribe on YouTube, HardFoul Podcast. Once again, apologize for Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed the show so much more today. And I will see you guys on Friday.